Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and yeah, we've got some interesting news. You see, a while back I speculated that we might get some DLC revolving around the High Elves, most likely around SEA LORD AISLINN, mostly because, well, there was a bit of a leak at some point with the voice actor of Teclis saying that he returns to Total War Warhammer 3, voicing a rather unnamed character, but that made me think, well, maybe that character might be like a sort of introduction character, you know, the one that gives the narrative, very similar to Champions of Chaos, which doesn't have the advisor talking and giving us the information. So, why am I talking about this again? Well, it seems that SEA LORD AISLINN has some new art which featured in the Sea of Claws for Cubicle 7's new expansion to Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. And yeah, he kind of looks very much the same in a few places. But mind you, there was already some established art for SEA LORD AISLINN, which is cool. However, if we just get a little bit more into it, you can see a few changes. Mostly just a little bit more pronounced armor near the chest, just to give him more of a legendary lord status, and the fact that he does have his own flag now. This has never been the case before. He's got his own sigil, you can see it's the claw there, which is that of a great eagle, and we're going to talk about that in just a second now. He still looks like a Sea Lord, just a little bit more special, and I think this is pretty cool. The logo is the most important thing here, and before anything, I don't want to be rude, so thank you to Cubicle 7 for the free copy. I very much appreciate this. So now that we have a banner associated to the character, this could mean a lot of different things, and now I have to keep in mind a few things too. I know some people might say that the roleplay is not canon in any way, shape or form, but it generally is. We've seen stuff from the roleplay series go to Warhammer Fantasy and even some stuff into Warhammer, and we've seen the reverse. Lady Diaphyn for the Vampire Coast was created for Total War Warhammer, and she featured recently in a book for Cubicle 7's Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay. It could be considered that Lady Diaphyn is officially canon now, thanks to that. Anyways, let's just go back to this. So who's SEA LORD AISLINN? Well, he's a pretty basic character. He doesn't have that much lore, but there's a reason why I think he's going to be DLC. You see, he was captain of the Lothan Sea Patrol, pretty much the commander of the High Elven fleet too, but not only that, but he features in lore mostly during the Storm of Chaos, which is pretty interesting, as you can imagine. It's very obvious that Creative Assembly really like the Storm of Chaos campaign, and they are drawing a lot from 6th edition, because 8th edition is mostly done, which in all honesty I'm really happy about, because 6th edition is a really good edition, and the Storm of Chaos is one of the best campaigns they've ever done too. And until we get Warhammer the Old World released in like 72 years, we really should look towards the older editions for a lot of new units. We've already been seeing that with other cases, but the High Elves could definitely do that too. The Sea Patrol won't bring that many new units to the table, unfortunately. You see, a lot of this stuff was just kind of kit-bashed, so this would be the equivalent of a reskin. It's essentially the same thing, just with a different look, changing some things about, and there you go. That's usually the case, as you can see here, with the Sea Lord being a Prince model, the Stormweaver being an Archmage, the Commodore being a commander, the Mist Mage being a mage. We'll talk about those a little bit later. And there's only one real missing unit here, which is the Merworm. And, you know, that's something that we expected, considering the fact that it's been, well, the Merworms are in the game, just not really a playable thing. They're more animated, because that's the whole Curse of the Vampire Coast storyline. But then there's also another unit, which is the Lothan Skycutter, which is usually manned by a Sea Helm too, which is something from 8th edition, but kind of fits here as a Sea Lord, because really the Sea Helms were more just used for battle standard bearers, at least that's my recollection of it. Anyways, the Merworm would just be a massive monster, quite fast moving, you know, something quite big that would work really well for the High Elves. Well, not everyone needs a big monster, but it would just be kind of nice. This would be fast like a Dreadsaurian. It would also have access to regenerate, and it would be heavily armored too, so yeah, it would be very, very durable. The Skycutter would just be very, very cool, because it's a mobile artillery piece. I guess they could do two variants, one with arrows and then the other one with the bolt thrower. But just the bolt thrower version, imagine a very fast flying artillery piece. You can position it wherever you want. It'd also be fairly durable, and it could do a decent amount of damage in close combat because, well, it's got a giant eagle. Those things tend to be quite good. The rest of the units in the roster could easily be added in, kind of like how Elfarian had a bunch of unique units that were only available to him. And I guess that works. Just give them a few specialized troopers and have them retextured and reskinned, and then there you go. I was quite keen on how that worked for Alfarian, and it's probably a good idea to do that again, especially for something which is definitely going to be somewhere else. You know, they're going to be most likely in the territories of the Eastern Colonies, because it kind of makes a lot of sense there. As there's no high elves there, it doesn't make sense to have one in Cafe or even Lostria. Well, yes, Teclis is very close, but we do know that Teclis is likely to get moved soon, so yeah, this was something that was confirmed by Creative Assembly. So yeah, I mean, Eastern Colonies sound like a good idea. There's already a high elf area there, and you could imagine it's a pretty passive campaign. Start off in the Eastern Colonies and then just decide where you want to go, which kind of fits well. It's a port area, and then you can just sail. If Sea Lords become a thing as a Lord option, well, you know, they could have access to shipbuilding, Aisling too, maybe in a special type of recruitment, very similar to that of... Or actually, no, just a carbon copy of how the Vampire Coast gets their special laws with shipbuilding. But it makes sense that Sea Lord Aisling would be able to get shipbuilding. Lokia needs it too, so if anyone is listening from Creative Assembly and I'm kind of spot on with the speculation, can you just give it to Lokia too? There are some unique spells for the Mages of the Sea Patrol, which are listed on screen right now. Nothing too special, in all honesty. I mean, it's just a basic thing. One of them just basically is a buff, well, debuff spell more, where your unit that you cast it on, the enemies will be worse to hit them or even to shoot at them, which, you know, is cool, but it's nothing really out there. Then there's the other one, which is Mistress of the Deep. This one, you get a unit out there, and the model is essentially just a piece of scenery, more than anything else, right? It distracts enemy attacks, so I guess this could be just like a leadership killer. In all honesty, I don't think that these spells are needed. It would be nice to have something unique, but they don't really need another Lore of Magic. Maybe the Sea Patrol could have access to the Lore of the Deeps that the Vampire Coast have, and just make it exclusive to them, which would be kind of cool, because it's a pretty good lore. Maybe just change 2 spells out for these 2, just to make it more unique for the elves, rather than, you know, using a ghost ship to fire cannonballs? I mean, I'm just trying to come up with ideas here, but it would be kind of cool in general for them to have Lore of the Deeps, because I like the Lore of Magic, and it would just be quite thematic if you played as a certain faction which only had that, and the other elven factions would have it either. Now, obviously, this is just some speculation, but it just kind of makes sense. We haven't really had a high elf content in a while, and if they want to make a high elf rework, which it would be nice if the high elves got a little bit of a retouch here and there, then it does make sense for them to, you know, have a DLC attached to it. An obligatory, no, I don't think this is coming before the Chorfs. Just be patient, guys. Seriously, I know. But it kind of makes sense. We are aware that there's 2 teams working on DLC, so maybe Chorfs and then High Elves next? This is the only thing that just kind of strikes out to me at the most. It's literally just because new art is just really exciting, isn't it? Especially for a character which really doesn't get time in the sun, not since 6th edition at the very least. So getting new art and the fact that the stuff which really is missing is kind of attached to him in a sense, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. I'm rather curious to see what you guys think, and if there's any units I have missed for the High Elves.